Leyton Garage is operated by the East London Bus and Coach Company, one half of Stagecoach's bus business in the capital. The garage was built in 1912 by the London General Omnibus Company, but suffered severe bomb damage in the Second World War and wasn't rebuilt until 1955. East London took over the building from the defunct London Forest in 1991. Today, Leyton operates 7 day routes and 1 night route, all of them double-deck. What sets the garage apart, though, are its mini works facilities, comprising a metal shop, an upholstery department, and the very latest heat-driven spray booth. It's therefore possible to carry out almost a full refurbishment of Tridents and Scanias in-house. Not just Leyton's buses, but those of other Stagecoach garages in East London too. You'll see how it all works in the course of the programme. And if you've ever wondered, the garage code T is a throwback to the baffling alphabetical system of the original London General. Let's deal with Leyton as a working garage first. Buses enter and leave the building through the doors at bottom left. The area immediately beyond the doors, although covered, acts as a forecourt during the day. A trio of Dennis Tridents at the start of their day's work. 17802 on Route 55 will pick up passengers in Leyton High Road. 17812 on the 230 will run empty to Walthamstow. 17482 on the 97 will run to Chingford before beginning its public service. Like other Stagecoach London garages, Tridents with the ALX 400 body have formed the bulk of the fleet for the past decade. Exactly 800 were ordered between 1999 and 2005 for garages on both sides of the river. The very first Trident, TA1, still resides at Leyton and can be found most days working Route 55. Obviously the garage serves as the 55 stand. 17485 completes another journey from Oxford Circus. Very neatly done, sir. Less experienced drivers, or learners as they're called, get their turn on one of the Rainham-based training Tridents, 17395, when it pays one of its regular visits to Leyton. In this view, we're looking into the heart of the garage from the forecourt. If you watch the Plumstead Delivers programme, you'll have seen buses fuelled and washed at the end of their day's work. Leyton's allocation is no different, obviously. The washer stands alongside the back wall and has an automatic setting, allowing buses to simply drive up and wait for the sequence to begin. The big chamois lever removes excess water from the flat roof. Otherwise, it might tip over the paying public when the bus turns a corner. or spend all night dribbling down the sides. Directly opposite the washer is the 7-bay maintenance shop, more of which later. Leyton's engineering manager is Steve Harrison, and he's in charge of pretty much everything you'll see in this programme. Steve has been at Leyton since 2006, but that's his second stint at the garage during a career-long tour of London. He's been on the buses since 1968. Like Plumstead, Leyton also has a rolling road. A Scania Omni City 15173 passes its test and is ready to go back to work. Shedmate 15134 reverses towards the parking space at the back of the garage. An area which also houses the body shop, the MOT preparation shop and the spray booths. The floor space between these two areas is used for bodywork jobs and the preparation of buses for spraying. 17543 has already had body areas needing attention identified. 17806 has had some holes filled and is being sanded smooth. More serious damage or corrosion calls for replacement body panels. 17877 goes under the drill, wielded by Steve Jordan. Beneath the skirt panels you will find the egg boxes, so-called, a sound deadening device. Some bits are harder to remove than others. A powered knife is needed on this strip. Replacement panels are cut to size in Leyton's metalwork room. Some pre-formed body components supplied by various manufacturers are also stored here. Mark Little prepares a piece of steel sheet, marking out the cutting point. He then carefully lines it up on the cutting machine. Once he's happy with the positioning, he uses the foot treadle to make the cut. Now it's the right size, the piece is ready for forming. What it is dictates how many bends are required. This one needs 2. The finished panel will be fitted to the bus with a rivet gun. Once damaged panels have been replaced, final preparations for painting include removing the advertising panels. James Bond has had his 15 minutes of fame until the next film. .17409 is in the process of conversion to a training vehicle. After 12 years of pounding London streets, it's no surprise that the bus needs a lot of attention. When all the prep work has been completed, painting can finally begin. It's no different from painting your living space. Preparation is everything. The paint process has a number of stages. The first job is to get the bus located correctly within the spray booth. This is Mo Ahmed, one of 3 men running the paint section. He's making sure there's enough space for the moving platforms as his colleague, Robert Fullerton, carefully inches the bus inside. With the vehicle in place, it's time for the initial bake to soften up the stickers and logos. They may only be plastic, but they almost weld themselves to the paintwork over a period of time. The doors are closed to fully seal the booth, and then with a flick of a few switches, it becomes a giant oven. temperature is set to 70 degrees centigrade and the bus is left in for around 20 minutes. If you're doing this at home, it's about regulo 3 for the same time, slightly less if you have a fan oven. While the Trident is cooking, let's consider seating and take a look at the Upholstery Shop. Bus interiors take even more of a beating than exteriors in their tough working lives, and nothing gets more wear and tear than the seats. So from time to time, a whole bus load or half a bus load is replaced, as well as the one-off repairs and replacements. This Trident, transferred recently from Romford, is in for a new top set before it goes back to work. The old cushions have already been removed from the frames. On the lower deck, the removals edge towards the door. And will soon end up in one of these storage cages. Leyton doesn't just deal with its own bus seats. Other East London garages bring their worn cushions over for refurbishment. Wherever they come from, they all end up here, at the Upholstery Department. The first job is to remove the old covers and foam from the frames. Rafiq Mir shows how it's done. But don't try this at home, the dust goes everywhere. Both the original cover and the sculpted foam are discarded, and what you're left with is little more than a plastic tray. Supervisor Terry Waller is cutting out a batch of new cover material from flat pieces earlier cut from a roll. Using templates, he's already chalked out the shapes of the various sections, so this cutting operation is the final step before the pieces are sewn together. The current Stagecoach moquette is referred to as Blue Pac-Man because the motif looks like the moving icon in the old computer game. Pieces like this are cut in batches as required, bagged up and sent to Terry's wife for machining. And this is how you reassemble a seat cushion. Pre-prepared foam is sprayed with glue and the plastic panel attached to it. Any excess is removed with a very sharp knife. The next job is to wrestle the cover on.
Stop.
Maybe. I lost him nicely. No, that can't work. That's a bit easy. A quick squirt from the staple gun and the cushion is ready to be refitted in a bus. Between them, Terry and Mia refurbish around 7,000 seats a year, which is quite a few busfuls. In the old days of Alderman Works, you would have found a similar department to this, but it would have been quite a bit bigger and with around 30 people engaged in upholstery work. Meanwhile, back at the spray booth, it's time to turn off the heat and start removing the vinyls now they've been softened up. A quick entry, remembering to shut the door to retain the heat. Although this does make for an unpleasant working environment, not just the 70 centigrade, but the overpowering smell of baked paint. Mo and Robert work quickly, using scalpels and blades to remove the vinyls. We'll leave them to it before our camera melts and catch up with the third member of the paint crew, Supervisor Ray Merchant, who's preparing the undercoat in the paint room. The two-pack system involves heat drying both undercoat and top coat, so the grey gets a good stir first. Ray fills up the containers. 2 of these guns will be used when painting begins. The next job is to ensure the spray guns are in proper working order. Any blockages will interrupt the flow rate and cause unsightly streaks. One part which can cause a problem is a ball bearing located in this hole. It helps draw paint through the gun from the container and can get stuck. So the guys dismantle the guns to make sure there's no excessive paint build-up from previous jobs. Even though they cost around £600 each, the guns can be quite temperamental, so great care is taken with them through every stage of the painting operation. The spray nozzles and connectors are also checked and given a rinse.
Just put my airline on.
After the indispensable wire brush, an airline is connected to blow through any remaining debris. All that remains is to assemble the unit, and painting can finally begin.
Yeah. You done my one, mate?
No.
Give me a second. Right, go.
The next stage of the process is demonstrated by one of the garage's scaniers. Once the bus has cooled down, it's masked up, covering all the glass areas, lights, grills, cameras, wheels and number plates. final blast of air and a quick rub down ensures a clean painting surface. The masking operation takes about an hour, so we'll come back again when they're ready to start spraying. In the meantime, let's have a look at the maintenance area. A Trident backs out as a Scania goes in. Seven bays are available, each equipped with inspection pits, exhaust extractors and small cranes. The whole area can be shut off from the rest of the garage by closing the sliding doors. All manner of work is carried out here, from minor servicing to changing wheels and even whole engines. Buses are processed in the area each week, and the engineering team of fitters, clerks and managers comprises 31 full-time staff. There's always plenty of work going on in the engine compartments, from routine oil level checks to component replacements. While we have the chance, let's compare the engine compartment of a Scania with that of a Trident. The Dennis bus appears to be missing its Cummins engine, but the design does have an additional panel on the offside for easier access to ancillary equipment. This bus is having its wheelchair ramp repaired, an item which often needs attention. Once the mechanical work is done, the bus moves to the pressure washer for a steam clean. Meanwhile, back at the paint shop again. Ray and Mo have changed into their spacesuits for the first undercoat stage. For obvious reasons, the masks are slightly more heavy duty than the ones you buy in home base for jobs around the home. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to paint the whole bus. The crew operate in pairs, one either side. If one of the guns fails, the other sprayer has to stop. This ensures that when they're painting the front and the back, they meet in the middle simultaneously, otherwise the paint finish would be uneven. With that job done, the booth is heated up again to speed the drying process. Meanwhile, the sprayers clean their guns and mix the top coat. Thanks to the heat, it only takes about 25 minutes for the undercoat to dry. I expect you can guess what's coming now. Yes, it's red paint. And exactly the same method is followed when applying this red top coat. The sprayers start at the front and work their way along the top of the body side. Then they paint the back and the lower body side. With the heat turned back up, the top coat dries just as quickly, and the boys go off for a well-earned cup of Earl Grey. Removing the masking tape must be a very satisfying job, because once that's done, the final task is to give the bus its identity back. Thanks to the magic of the movies, the Scania has morphed into one of Barking's Tridents, 17526. If you ever tried applying one of these vinyls yourself, you'll know how tricky it is. The professionals, of course, make it look easy, especially horizontal positioning, without the aid of a chalk line. The finished bus is carefully backed out of the booths. All that remains now is to fit some new seats, and it should be good for another 5 years. The paint team deals with 3 or 4 buses each week. Here, for instance, is another Trident in the process of conversion to a trainer. The blue skirt is applied first, then the rest is masked up to complete the paint job. On another visit in late January, we found one of Barking's single-deckers in for the treatment, Optare Versa number 25309. By a quirk of something or other, at the time we made the earlier Stagecoach DVD at Plumstead, this bus was based there.